Two of the junior high coaches had their picture in the paper. Jerry Rose was the head coach for football, and Gene Younger was the assistant coach. Jerry's a math teacher, Gene a shop teacher. Both men that I came to think of as almost brothers, good teachers, good friends. The article points out that Coach Rose is in a peculiar, he's the head coach, is in a peculiar position as a coach in that he has nothing on which to predict the performance of next year's football team. The reason is that Jefferson County R1, as a ruling, allows only ninth graders to engage in competitive sports, which means that the entire Ram team will move on to the high school next year and he gets to start over. Well, in some ways that keeps your life a little simpler as a coach, but it certainly leaves you wondering what's going to happen. And I don't remember. I know they were competitive that year, not champions by any means, but they made us proud. The December 26th paper has just a little blurb in it about the Cub basketball team began to wind up their successful season. You know, this is that time of year when they kind of do a capsule here and there of how the year has gone. The Cub basketball team began to wind up their successful season, but were tied with Broomfield for the league lead. Now they're talking about the high school. The wrestling squad was represented in state competition by Dale Hladek, Leroy Williams, Jim WALPOLE. Jim WALPOLE had won a berth at state, but an injury kept him from competing. That triggered some memories, to say the least. They just split the junior high, senior high combo into a separate situation, and they'd actually taken over the Wilmot Elementary School. I think it was already called Wilmot, but they'd taken over the old elementary school site to develop as a senior high site and built the new Wilmot School just up the road a little piece. Well, they were still having their wrestling matches and their basketball games in our gym. Used to be their gym, but it's now our gym, and they're guests in our building when they come down. And I don't really remember it specifically, but I suppose on the particular day that I'm going to be referring to, the basketball team was probably practicing there in the gym after school. Well, I don't know just what was going on, where I was, but I do know that a teacher came to me with fire in her eyes and indignantly said, "Two boys are standing out there in the hall looking into the gym, and they're spitting on the floor." And I told them to stop it, and they told me it was their building and more or less told me to get lost. So she said I told them to leave, and they didn't leave. And it was pretty clear that I was expected to do something about it, and I think I would have anyway, but that particular Mrs. Morris, you kind of got the feeling that you've got your marching orders, buddy, march. Well, I go down, and sure enough, they see me coming, tup, tup. I didn't really look, but I suspicion maybe they were chewing sunflower seeds, spitting the holes out. Didn't make any difference. Shouldn't be spitting on the floor inside a building. So I went down, I said, "Boys, the teacher asked you to leave. Leave. This is our building." "No, this is not your building, and it's time to leave." And I was pretty insistent, and I thought maybe they were going to see if I'd try to physically throw them out. Well, I'll tell you what, big old boys, big old athletic boys that I would have had my hands full and more with one, let alone two. But when I kind of inferred that, I once called the police to have a girl student removed from an office, and I'm asking you to leave, and you're going to leave, and I expect I also invoked the name of Mr. Lee, the high school principal. They decided to leave, and I walked with them to the door, and they left with no further problem. strange what kids will do that they know better than to do, and then when called to account will make matters worse. But I suppose it's that characteristic that causes half of the trouble in the world, and it's not just by kids. I'm afraid our president has had a lot of that kind of mentality that's gotten us into some of the things that we're into now. And I hear today that, not for the first time, but that we've made another strike into a country that we're not at war with. Lord Almighty, if they did that to us, whoo, I can't even imagine what would be going on. Well, they held their wrestling matches, and since Roy had gotten into wrestling, and I did neglectful earlier, we started going to the high school wrestling matches as well as me watching the junior high matches when they were home. Those high school matches were exciting. Art Madrid's good wrestling coach, and it was a joy to go, and everybody got so excited, and you could get so excited, and we did. We really did. We got to where we were as loud and noisy and support as anybody could be, but we didn't spit on the floor. The best match, the most fun match of the night every time was when Jimmy Walpole wrestled. This older building, the gym ran, let's see, to me it was east to west, and you entered from the north side, and on the south side in the middle was the stage. Well, when they located the wrestling mat pretty close to that stage, dead center, it was right in front of the stage. And Mr. and Mrs. Walpole made it a habit to come early and sit up there on the stage. When Jimmy would wrestle, and he wasn't one of those, you know, slam bam, it's over. His matches were tense and exciting. Lots of reversals. Mr. Walpole, a little slight-built man, he would stand up, he would get so excited, he would be clear up and bent way over. I thought he was going to fall right on the floor or on the mat. The mat's pretty close to there. Never did. But it was a great show. Great show on the mat, great show above the mat. Mrs. Walpole, she cheered, but she was quite the lady and dignified, and she wasn't up where she might fall off. Jimmy, I think after high school, went into the service, came back and became a fully qualified educator and became superintendent of schools at Bailey, Colorado. How my heart goes out to him. To be the superintendent of a small school where you know every kid, and then have a gunman come in and kill a young lady. I prayed for them then, I pray for him right now. For him, his family, the girl, her family, and that whole community. Hope they never have anything like that again. Well, that's about all I want to say at this time. Get back to it here in a minute with another one.